Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to virtually meet you finally.
I know, I'm excited. It's nice to
Are you,
meet you.
of course, are you still living in England?
Yeah, I still live in England, but my daughter, she's 5, and she's never had like an American Halloween experience.
Okay.
So I just thought, yeah, I would take her out here for Halloween because it's my favorite holiday. And so I
Same.
just feel like she needed yeah, she needs some sort of cool Halloween experience. So
Yeah. What's Halloween like in the UK?
sad. It's a sad time, you know. Well, it's okay. I basically started this Halloween party for our neighborhood, and yeah, I don't know. I just put like some games together, and I tried to put like a trick or treat hunt on for all the kids in the neighborhood, like trying to rally all the neighbors together. Um, and it was really fun. We've done it for like 3 years, and then I told everyone that I was coming to America for Halloween this year, and no one put a party together. So
Aw.
it was like solely on my back, which is fine. But yeah, I don't know. Like there's some places where you can trick or treat and stuff, but it's definitely not as big as out
Yeah.
here.
No, I love it. It's always been my favorite. I'm going to a haunted house with some friends this Friday, and I'm
Nice.
it's been a while since we my wife and I used to go every year before we had kids, and then
Yeah.
we do all like the trick or treating stuff, but the day after Halloween we're getting our haunted houses in, so I'm excited.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, it's I really want to go to Salem for Halloween one year. That would
Yeah.
be like a dream. My sister went a couple years ago and said it was incredible. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. It's like one of the top 10 destinations for Halloween. I would love to
Yeah,
go as well. It seems so cool to go out there and
I
connect
know.
and just see, yeah, just be in the vibes of everything.
Yeah, my sister said that she walked down the street and it was like kind of foggy and like drizzling a little bit. And she said as they were walking down the street, there's like Halloween decoration everywhere. But as they came up to like the town square, they heard like stomping and like like axes dragging on the ground. And as they go
Really?
through the fog, there's like hundreds of people just dressed up like zombies and witches and skeletons and like all this stuff that are just wandering around the town. And she said that it's like the coolest, creepiest thing. So
Oh,
it's
that's
on my bucket list.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Cool.
but yeah, so let's dive right in. I
Sure.
always start with like your childhood. So like where were you born? What was childhood like? Did you have any siblings? So yeah, I'll let you take it
Yeah,
away.
sure thing. I was born in Lansing, Michigan. And I was born missing my arm. I have a twin sister who is not missing any limbs. um, and yeah, born in Lansing, but we moved to Florida when I was 3 years old. Um, so I like to say that I'm a Floridian, but like secretly I was born in Michigan. So yeah.
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, we grew up on a farm, so we always had probably between like 12 to 15 horses on the property at all time. And yeah, my mom is a horse trainer, and she kind of just like raised us to be um, equal. I guess my twin sister and I, who's able-bodied, she raised us to be expecting the same. You know what I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so we kind of just went through life like without my mom really helping me too much or doing a lot of things for me. She kind of let me figure a lot of stuff out. And yeah, I mean, I grew up writing, grew up dancing. I just read a little bit about you. I also went through bullying as well with kids,
Yeah.
which was obviously a horrible experience, but I feel like people with visible like disabilities or differences, it's quite a common experience for kids to just be mean, you know. And that I think, yeah, it really like affected me as a kid, but
Of
I think it's
course.
also shaped kind of who I am today. And as a parent yourself, you kind of know that it's sadly going to happen to our kids too. So like I carry a lot of I don't know, it's really hard to like see my kid be like left out. and I struggle with it a lot, like on the playground, even when she was a baby, even to see like a kid who's like 2 years older. Obviously, they're not going to want to play with my infant,
Yeah.
but then being like, yeah, I don't know, it like hurts me extra as a parent because I've like gone through it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's so interesting. I've got 3 kids. My 9-year-old girl, my 6-year-old girl, my 4-year-old boy, and
Okay.
they're all in school now, so it's a similar thing where they'll come home and talk about like, a kid that my oldest daughter, she has this haircut where she's more of a tomboy. She doesn't like dresses. She loves wearing like,
Yeah.
basketball shorts and t-shirts, and she's forever has been wanting I don't know if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, but the
Yes. The Spider Gwen.
yes, she
Yeah.
wanted that haircut. So
So cool.
we were like, sure, do it. Like, and we explained like when we were kids, it was weird. Like boys, weren't supposed to have longer hair. Girls weren't supposed to have shorter hair. Like there was
Mm,
all these societal expectations, but we're like, go for it, get your haircut that you want, but be prepared because some kids, because it is, different from the norm or what people expect you to do. Some people might comment on it or say girls don't have short hair. And just remember, if you love it, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. And
yeah.
she's had some of that, or like some people call her young man whenever we're out. But yeah, it's tough as a parent, like seeing it from that lens. Um, but I totally relate to like my mom didn't, she didn't baby me at all either. Like I
Yeah.
was going through all these surgeries. I had really severe asthma, but I kind of had like free reign to make my own mistakes and figure things out for myself and learn how my body worked and what I could and couldn't do, what I might need help with, what I had to adjust for myself, and
Mm,
um, it really helped because I think now like as it gave me confidence that I could, do things my way. It may just look a little bit different when I do it, but there was a shift. And I'm curious for you if you remember the moment. But for me, the moment that I realized, like I always knew I was different. I remember the moment that I realized that was I was at Disney World with my mom and my grandpa, and these like college kids I was running down the hall to go see Pinocchio. I was so excited. I had my Pinocchio costume. And they were making fun of the way that I was running. And
oh,
my grandpa saw and he yelled at them. And I didn't know why he was yelling at. Because I thought it was funny seeing them run the way I was running. I didn't realize it was mean spirited.
mm,
But that's when it clicked like, oh, I must walk or run differently and people notice. And then it was in high school when I first, there was the moment where a kid was talking to me about acting and acting interested in what I do. And I told him about this TV show I had been on, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know they let cripples on that show." And then
God.
that's when yeah, and that's
Sorry.
when it clicked for me that I was like, "Oh, okay, this thing that is different about me is bad. I need to hide this. I need to be ashamed of it. I need to be
Mm,
embarrassed by it." And it like totally shifted my whole mindset towards my disability, and it took a lot of therapy and just surrounding myself with positive influences and people who love me, to kind of shift it back to loving my differences and loving my disability. So was there a moment for you, because I'm sure as a toddler you knew that you were different from the other kids, but was there a moment that you started to like be insecure about it or like struggle with that difference?
absolutely. I think for me, it was in elementary school. I feel like it always starts there, right? Because everyone's together and everyone's learning about other people and they're learning about what's different and what's fitting in. And yeah, this girl, she like hit me in the like, what is it, the car line. Yeah, I don't know why. I think she was just like, "Oh, you're different." So she like smacked me. I don't know how hard she hit me. I was a kid, so I don't really remember. But
Yeah.
that was kind of like this, I think the start where I kind of realized that I was a little bit different because we had to go to the teachers and I had to tell them what happened. And she must have said something to me about having one arm, and that's why she did do whatever she did. Um, and so I had to kind of like explain that to the teachers with my mom, Uh, and that was kind of like the start of it. And I think within the same year, I went to do the morning news at our TV. And I went up to like do the Pledge of Allegiance. And the teacher said something like, "Oh, you have to do your right hand over your heart," because I did the left. Um, and I like put my right arm up on my chest. And then I feel like that was the first time I've ever been extremely self-conscious. And then it kind of like went downhill from there, where I just started hiding it. And yeah, it was like I realized I was different then. And then when you start playing games in PE and they like people are picking you last, like people don't want you on their team kind of thing. And I think when all of that kind of starts to happen and pile together, it really puts it really puts it into perspective for you. It makes you feel like your disability is like a bad thing. And now you realize, oh, wow, I am different.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it was something that never really like happened to my sister. So it was kind of like an extreme thing where I like realized it really heavily. And then I would go to school wearing sweaters. I live in Florida, not now, but I used to live in Florida, and like it's 90 degrees outside. I'm wearing a hoodie, tuck my little sleeve into the front pocket of my hoodie. And yeah, it like happened like that for a while, where I would just put my arm behind my back and hide it in my backpack and stuff. And I wouldn't put it on the desk, like just a lot of things that I would do as a kid. And then I know my pivotal moment though, in high school, I had tried out. So I was on dance team in middle school, and then I tried out for my high school dance team and got on the junior varsity team my freshman year. And we had to go to band camp, and I was late because I was in Michigan, I believe. So I was like 2 days late to band camp, and they introduced me to like 200 students in high school. Um, as this is Ashley Sherman and she's late. And like in that moment, I just kind of decided, I was like, I can either hide for the rest of my life, or I can change myself right now and I can be who I am. Like, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to grow an arm. Like I have to kind of accept and love myself in order for other people to love me. And it was like in this moment, this like pivotal moment, this one day, and it just changed my entire life. And I became someone who suddenly had a lot of friends. I became someone who didn't care who stared at me. I became someone who, yeah, was just more confident.
Hmm.
um, and I'm really thankful for that moment, because I feel like that really, yeah, changed my life.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting because I relate a lot to like not only having the supportive mom that gave us like confidence as
Yeah.
kids. I also rode horses growing up. We had 15
Oh.
acres with horses and cattle and all sorts of stuff. And that also, I think, gave me a lot of confidence. And there's something so therapeutic about riding horses, and especially for people within the disabled community. Like, there's so much,
Hmm.
um, like there's like this almost spiritual connection between is like people within the disabled community and horses. There's like it's used for so many different therapies, and it was really healing in a way. But then it was so interesting growing up and trying to balance, like, I always had confidence in myself, and I knew my mom believed in me. I had family that believed in me. But then when your peers start treating you differently,
Mm.
it's like you still have the confidence, you know what you're capable of, but your like self-worth or the image of yourself changes because you're like, oh well, they view me this way, is that how I really am? And like, it's such a weird thing to balance. So it took a little longer for me, um I think, to shift. Like, for a long time throughout my 20s, I reverted to like being kind of making fun of myself and being mean spirited
Okay.
towards my disability, because I thought if I can beat them to the punch, then they'll like me, and it worked a lot of the time.
Mm.
They would laugh at the jokes I would make about myself, but then it kind of gave them permission to continue to joke about it,
Yeah.
which always hurt. And I still, even now at 34, find myself doing that at times, like around certain family members or around certain people I don't fully feel safe around.
Hmm.
I kind of go back to that, which I'm working through. But I'm so glad that you had that moment, and I think that it's something. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Speaking of high school, I did find friends. I did start to find a little confidence then, eventually, but the damage had been done. I had the
Mm,
insecurities, and it's taken a while to get through. But one area I saw you talk about in another interview was dating in high school, and like dating
yeah,
as someone with a visible disability. Um, for me, it was interesting because I found that the girls in high school were much more. I feel like they were much more open to dating a guy with a physical disability than guys would have been to date a girl with a physical disability, because it was more about, like, the emotional connection, the sense of humor, like all of that kind of stuff, and it wasn't as um, you know like just based on expectations of how someone should look or how their body should be or whatever. So I had some girlfriends throughout high school. I dated girls that were way taller. I'm 5'3", five. I say 5'4" on my resume. I'm actually probably closer to 5'3". Um, but I dated a girl that was like 5'10".
mm,
I never cared about like height differences or any of that. And in fact, I found most of my girlfriends were very protective over me, and like they would, if they saw someone staring or making fun of my disability, really like were did not like that. And I, because of that, whether it was like a romantic relationship or just friends, I really found myself um becoming connected with the girls in high school. And like my best friends were girls, and to this day, so many of my best friends are women, and I just always felt safe in those groups, safer. But for you, I saw that you had a boy tell you that he would date you if you had two arms. Um,
yeah.
so what was that journey like? And did you, was there a moment or like a boyfriend or a past relationship where you kind of, were able to feel accepted, or find your confidence in the dating world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I definitely in middle school, like high school, the first boy that I like had a crush on, I was always very reserved. I didn't really like dating, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to do any of that. Like my sister was like miles ahead of me in that kind of category, but I just felt like I'm gonna be myself, everything. I don't know, you get to a point, I think, with disability where, at least for me, I was like, it's just gonna be me, like, and that's fine. I'm like, that's fine. And this guy, his name's Chris. I'm sure he hears this all the time. He probably hears this story. Everyone sends it to him. I doubt it. But like he was messaging me for such a long time, and he was in my school, and we would like talk, and then he would send me text and yada yada yada. And then one night I was at a friend's house, and I was like, oh, you should come hang out with us and stuff. And he just like came to the window. I don't know. He didn't come in the house. I don't know if we were like weren't allowed to like
Yeah.
have boys in the house.
We did weird
Probably.
things in high school. Yeah.
Yeah. He like came to the bedroom window, and then we were just like sat there talking. And he was like, "Yeah, I would date you if you had another arm." And I feel like that, like, it was such a horrible thing for me to hear. Um, and I didn't cry then, but definitely when he left, I cried because it was like, as a kid, it's really devastating. And you want to fit in with everyone. Everyone's got boyfriends, everyone's got girlfriends, and like, I just find that it was, yeah, it was tough, and I didn't really like look or seek kind of like relationships after that for a long time. And then my first like real boyfriend was when I was 17, for like almost about like a year. Um and yeah, I mean he was cool. He didn't really care that I had one arm. They always say that. They're like, "Oh, I don't care that you have one arm." It's like, well, it's a part of me, so it's cool that you would care, you
Yeah.
know. Like, I'm glad that you don't care in a negative way, but um
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
you don't want someone to like be with you in spite of it. It's
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
you want someone to love that about you, just like they love the other parts of you.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like it's hard to kind of decipher that, but not everyone's like thinking in that
Yeah.
way. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I'm a massive believer in that. Everyone has different minds. You can't
Mhm.
really police what other people are thinking. You can't really like I don't know. I guess like ignorance is bliss in a way, but
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice to like, yeah.
I
I
think
guess
people
educate people.
generally mean well when it comes to
Yeah,
like interacting with people with disabilities. They don't know they and that's why I think educating the general public on it is so important, and having
exactly.
like those of us on screen that are getting these opportunities like as
Mm,
often as possible and as many projects as possible, because the more people see it, the more it's normalized, the more
yeah,
it's out there. It's like it's not as uncomfortable or taboo for people to like talk about or to navigate, where that's why I love interacting with kids, because they're
mm,
so straightforward and they're like, "Why do you walk like that?" And then I tell them and they just accept it. They're just like,
yeah.
"Okay, cool." And
Like,
that's
fine,
it.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then they go
and
do a cartwheel or something.
yeah,
You know, like,
and instead of like, I've having people, in the way that our moms didn't baby us, like having people now as
yeah,
adults be like, can I help you with that?" Which I think they mean well, but it's like, "No, I've got it."
mm,
Like there's it's like people they feel like we in a way need saving or need help or are incapable, or
yeah,
a lot of that, and it's interesting, but I'm not really, unless someone says something genuinely mean, I'm never offended by it when people maybe use terminology that could be offensive, or
right,
things like that. On the Chosen, my character has a disability, and it's a little exaggerated on the show because his disability is getting worse as the show goes on. uh,
okay.
so I limp a little more prominently on the show, so when people see me in person without a walking stick, they'll say, "Oh, you're not crippled anymore," and things like that,
Oh,
where
no,
it's like
yeah, yeah.
just kind of an
You're like, "Oh,
awkward
okay."
phrasing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask too. So you went 21 years without the use of a prosthetic arm, and
Mm,
um, because of that, I saw that you had talked about your the arm that you used for all of those years was, you were dealing with chronic pain and some issues with that.
yeah,
I had a similar thing with my left leg. It's longer than my right leg, and for 24 years, that's where all my weight would be when I was standing. That's the one that did
mm.
the heavy lifting when I would walk. And it's pretty wild. Like if you look at my right leg, it looks like a professional soccer player's leg, and then my right leg or my left leg is that, and then my right leg is just like a chicken leg. Um,
That's how I feel like.
yeah, right.
Like,
Exactly. But because of that, my left
yeah,
knee is like I'm if I bend over, it just like crackles, and like
mm.
my hip was messed up. I had to get surgery on that. But what was how much did it help once you got your prosthetic limb, and what's the shift like now? Like as you use it, once you take it off, is it ever weird going back to not like? Do you have to manage the time you spend with it on versus having it off? Like, do you get too reliant on it? Like, I'm just curious what that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
journey has been like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the main kind of reason why we got it is because of the overuse of my arm. So you grew up on a farm, every part of farm life is cleaning stalls, throwing hay,
Yeah.
buckets, all that crazy stuff. And I think it like got to a point when I was probably like 20 that my left side just kind of started deteriorating. So I would have wrist issues if I picked up a weight or even just like a hay bale again. Um, 3 days without being able to move my wrist without it locking up, and yeah, just the elbow issues, and now I have neck issues in my in my
Of
older age.
course.
But I'll be honest, like I got the arm, and it definitely helped to lower kind of like my shoulder and just even things out a bit more. I think as I've gone through life, I found myself kind of using it less and less, if that make like because I just feel like sometimes it is more disabling for me to wear than not, depending on like the hands that I'm wearing. It's just yeah, it causes a lot of stress on my shoulder. I think in America they were very adamant about us having occupational therapy,
Mhm.
and we didn't have the insurance to cover that, and we didn't have the money to do it. And I think, with occupational therapy, if we had the money or the insurance, it would have probably, yeah, just like gone around this problem, and we would have strengthened the shoulder, and everything probably would have been a bit better overall.
Sure.
Um, but because I was wearing it, and I think I was just moving myself in a way that was not ideal for my body and my bones and everything. Sometimes I'll get like aches in the back of my shoulder, aches in my neck. So I kind of wear it a lot for photography. I wear it a lot for film.
Okay.
Um, and I'll use it for things. If I'm like doing my hair, it's really nice to have to do like blow drying.
Sure.
But like I don't know, I don't like go through life wearing it very often because I was born this way. I've already figured out how to do everything with
Yeah.
one hand. So it's like, I don't know, wearing it sometimes makes things harder for
Yeah.
me. Um, so yeah, just
What's I've always been curious, and in the spirit of educating, the public,
mm,
how does it work? I've always been
yeah,
curious, like yeah, how it functions. Like, what is it that makes it move? Like, what's the whole process of that?
for sure. So I have a myoelectric socket. So basically, like I've got a little muscle here that kind of
Okay.
moves, and then there's one on the outside that moves. It's like the same muscle they use to open and close your own hand, and then we go through the process of fitting the socket, and they'll put a electrode on the two muscles, so that way when you put it in, they land in exactly the same place all the time. So basically, like this flex is a close. That's
Okay.
the close signal, and then the flex on the outside is the open signal. Depending on the hand and the company, you can change grips using like a double open signal. The iLim Quantum, which I had for a long time, you like hold the open signal in parallel, and then you can move it forward, backward, left, or right to
Wow.
program a grip into it. Or you can just simply like move the fingers, move the thumb into what kind of the place that you want it to be, and then close the hand in
Mhm.
that way. And yeah, I mean, it's quite cool. The technology is amazing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like simple when you think about it, but it's also I don't know, really cool when you start getting into the apps and programming and
I
like
bet.
yeah, like updating remotely is kind is kind of fun, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to charge it depending on the hand, depending on the battery that you have. Um, you know, probably like your phone every night you'll plug it in, and
Yeah.
if you use it all day.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah,
That's
yeah, it's
really
quite cool.
cool. How did you find your passion for like modeling and performing and dance and all of
Mm.
that? Like, where did that come into play? And when did you kind of realize or decide that you were going to like make that your career, that that was going to be, what you wanted to do?
I think it all started with dance. So I had no like prior dance experience, and then I tried out for my middle school dance team, and I somehow made it. I think it's because I could do the splits, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she's got potential."
Yeah.
um, so I started like kind of like training in dance, just on dance team basically from middle school, 2006 up until high school. We used to compete and everything, and go to nationals and Disney, and that was kind of like the start of my love for performing. And then my mom, she she's like a horror fan, and she loves Halloween. That's kind of where we get it from. And she had been going to Halloween Horror Nights since like 1991 or something crazy.
Yeah.
And once my sister and I turned 11, she would take us to Halloween Horror Nights, and we kind of like fell in love with the event and Halloween. And when we were 18, my mom signed us up for an audition. And for me, I thought it was dance. I was like, oh, what am I doing? But it was for Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. And I think she wanted free tickets, you know.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting the job, which was really cool. And that kind of like started my performance aspect of things, kind of moving away from dance more into improv acting, street acting. Um, and yeah, we just started doing Halloween Horror Nights as scare actors, and then moved into I started doing Mardi Gras, which is their parade, lots of glitter, lots of dancing, and then I moved to England in 2018 And Zebedee Talent, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're like a disability specialist agency. And when they first opened, I think I was still living in America, and I was like, oh, I would love to like be with you guys. I was like, ooh, this would be so cool. And they're like, oh, we're only in the UK. And that's before I moved to the UK. So I was like, oh, I can't be with them, whatever. Um, and then I finally moved out there and yeah, asked to be on their books, and they said yes, and kind of just started my performance acting modeling career then. And so I don't know, I kind of like wanted to do it because I never saw like myself in any sort of on screen, in magazines. You would barely even, for me, like I never saw anyone with a disability, it seemed, even at the store,
Yeah.
at Walmart. It's like I just grew up kind of thinking that I was the only one in the world. I remember asking my dad, like, why me when I was a little kid, because I was like, I'm just like one out of the whole entire universe. I was like, I really thought that I was alone, and it was a horrible feeling. So for me, I feel like I kind of saw Rebecca Marine as one of my like role models back in the day. She was out there, she was modeling, she had the bionic arm. Angel Jafria, seeing her on screen, seeing her do all these amazing things, I was like, this is something that I can potentially do. So kids who grow up like me don't feel like they're alone in any circumstance, regardless of what I'm doing. I'm quite not quite like picky about my work, I guess. I love to do any and all things, and I think it's because I don't like being bored as well, which is great in the acting world because you're always doing something different.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I kind of started with modeling and then moved into commercial acting, and then moved from commercial acting into film and TV. And I'm like doing a bit more commercial as well. It's just kind of whatever the industry throws at me at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How have you from like when you started getting into that world of acting
Mm.
and on camera stuff? I saw in some other interviews that you had mentioned like being told we'll call you when we have a disabled role and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
I think we all in the disabled community, Angel is a friend of mine as well, and we've talked
Mm.
about it where everyone I've talked to that has a visible disability in the film industry or model like entertainment industry in general has some story, several stories of comments from casting directors or producers or whatever. Um, but so, what was that like as far as like navigating the biases within those industries? And how have you seen it change over the years now that you've been at it for a while?
Definitely. Well, I would say in about around like 2016 was kind of when I started to get into more modeling in America here in Florida. And that was when, I had like a model management lady who was great. She like found me at an airport and she was like, you should come. We're in New Smyrna. And it was really great to know her and everything. And she like got comp cards and stuff together for me. And she had me like send them out to different agencies the around Florida basically. And yeah, this one guy, he called me after sending him an email, sending him my comp card and everything. And he just straight up was like, yeah, we don't have the clientele for your kind. Your kind is what he said, which is horrible to say to someone, right? Like,
Yeah.
and like, I was like, oh, but he's like, but I'll call you when someone wants like someone with a disability. He never called me, by the way, but I was with like two or three agents here in Florida for like 2 years. And the only thing that I ever got from them was like a disabled veteran role. And it was once. And that was like, yeah, completely the only thing that they ever put me forward for. Which is really frustrating, right? Because when you start out modeling and you start out in this industry, you're putting tons of money into getting your headshots done, putting a reel together, putting a portfolio together, the comp cards, and just to have absolutely nothing for 2 years besides one thing. And I don't feel like I necessarily like fit that profile as well, other than having one arm. So I'm obviously not going to get that role, but that's all they're putting me forward for. And then when I came to the UK in 2018, one of my first jobs was for like a big grocery store chain. They also had clothes, so it was kind of for their and it was like a women empowerment kind of shoot. And it was 2 days on set, and there was this whole schedule. They would get us ready. We were there at 6 a.m. And me and a girl with a hijab, we were not used for the individual shoot, but we were used for the group shot at the end of day two, starting at 6 p.m. And we like kind of, got together and we were like, so what do you think is going on? And we're like, well, should we ask the AD about, like what, if we're on schedule, because all these other girls, they're doing interviews, they're doing social media, they're doing individual shots. So we walked up to this guy and we asked him, we're like, hey, do we need to like get ready? Like what are we doing? And he's like, well, if you're not on the schedule, don't worry about it. We're like, okay, so we're tokens. We're the token different people in this group of women empowerment. And like the whole concept of the shoot was the complete opposite of how we were treated on set. And I feel like when I look back at myself on that shoot, I like look at my face and you can just see how I was feeling and what I was thinking. Yeah, for the shoot, because I was like, God, it was really horrible to feel that way. And
Yeah.
it really like affected the entire campaign and like how I felt about it. And it was cool to see. It was like one of the first times I saw myself in a store, and that was cool. But
Sure.
it was also, yeah, such conflicting feelings, right? Because you want to be a part of it. Um, you're thankful that you're being hired, but also like, I don't know, it's like the bottom of the barrel kind of thing, the very bare minimum that they can be giving you.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like I've for so long, every role I ever got was I was so focused on not limping because the character wasn't disabled, and that was where
Okay.
my focus was. Then I got the chosen, and that became part of my storyline. And
Mm,
thankfully, I was able to kind of be more vulnerable than I had ever been and shine a light on this thing that I was super insecure about. And it freed me as an artist and as an actor to not worry about that anymore and just focus on the character and the performance. And doing that and then becoming an advocate for the disabled community, it's opened up other doors for
mm,
characters with disabilities, specifically, which is great. And I'm super grateful for, but then there's that kind of desire to like, I don't want to just play characters that are explicitly disabled and that,
yeah.
why can't I play a police officer that just happens to have a slight limp and it's never mentioned? Like it's just because that stuff is real. That's what, is out there and why can't you just be a nurse in a medical drama and
Hmm.
it's never mentioned that you have a limb difference? Like it's those people exist in the world. So it's
Yeah.
I think that that's the thing I'm hoping is the next big shift. I see it a little bit, but I hope that's the next big thing. Um and I'm also really grateful that we're living in a time, but more specifically our kids are living in a time where people like different body types and different disabilities and different races and cultures and all of this stuff are represented more in media and in pop culture, um, even if it is at times even if it feels at times like it's more tokenism, at
Yeah.
least it's like I think a step forward where eventually it's not tokenism anymore and it's just the norm. But
Hmm.
like my daughter has so many, like we go to the store and now like Barbie, we'll look at all the Barbies there
Yeah.
and there's like Down syndrome Barbie, wheelchair Barbie, like limb different Barbie, like all these different uh shades and races of Barbie, and like she has all of them and doesn't care. It's not just like, oh, I get the white one because I'm white. It's
Yeah.
like I want all of them, and she views the world in a way that I think is different than from like our generation and the previous ones, where it's like
Mm.
she's seeing how diverse and colorful and different the world is, and the people within it. And it's you're a part of that too, like watching Barbie. We just watched it yesterday, um, because we hadn't watched it in a while, and I was like, oh, I'm interviewing Ashley tomorrow, so I might as well watch it again. And it was so cool seeing that within that movie too. And so I wanted to ask, like, what was that
Yeah.
experience like, and how did that come about for you?
Oh my gosh, it was probably the coolest thing that's ever happened to
I
me
bet.
in my life. Well, one of the, you know. So I basically got asked to do it through Instagram, which is crazy. But there was an agent who they do stunts and dance. And I'm with them now, which is quite cool. They're called Take Free Agency, and they reached out to me on Instagram, and they were like, "Hey, we're looking for amputee specific dancers to be in a feature film for Warner Brothers." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I don't know. When you get stuff on Instagram, you're like, "Is it a scam?" I don't know.
Yeah,
But I'll go to the audition and I'll find out what it's like, you know. And so they sent me the address, which was a good, reputable dance
yeah,
studio in
it's not in the
London.
back of a
So
van or
yeah.
something.
So I was like, all right, I'll go and do it. And had a really great experience with the audition because they auditioned all people with disabilities in one audition.
Okay.
Which was quite cool, to be honest, because we all kind of like got to know each other. Some of us have seen each other online already, and to like meet each other and just kind of be in the space to dance together was really amazing. And so they had us come back and come to Warner Brothers for a like recall audition. So we went back and we did the recall audition, and something in my like body kind of told me that this was my role. You know, they're like, I just thought I was like, I'm gonna get it, and that's that. You know, like uh, I just I don't know, it just felt very right for me, and ended up getting the part. I like cried. I was like, oh my gosh. It was me and Maya, who is wheelchair Barbie.
Mhm.
We were the two disabled dancers who were part of the movie and part of the entire film, basically. And yeah, it was just an incredible experience. I mean, they asked what we needed to have accommodated, and they, you know, they were very considerate of us and how we move and you know what we can do. And I had gone through all the dance rehearsals without wearing my prosthesis, but it was almost, it made me so nervous because sometimes when you get hired for these things, I'm obviously more comfortable not wearing my arm, but
Mhm.
sometimes when people see it, they see your arm, they were very interested in it because they saw it in my like headshots and stuff. And because it was gold, they wanted me to bring it so I could match the outfits and everything. But I had never danced with it on, and I still don't because it's sweaty, it'll come off. You know, there's just a lot of problems uh, when you dance with a prosthetic arm on.
Mhm.
And so I we were getting close to filming day, and I had was like, I need to talk to Greta and like see if she wants me to dance with this on or not, you know. And I was like, I'll do it. I'll do anything you want, you know. Kind of like I just wanted to make sure I was involved, you know. And I came up, yeah, had a talk with her, and she's like, I don't care. She's like, whatever's most comfortable to you. Like Barbies can be anything. They can be whoever, you know. She's like, it doesn't matter if you wear the arm or not. If you didn't rehearse with it and you don't want to wear it to dance, then that's fine. Um, and it was just really eye opening. You know, she was so amazing, and she was, yeah, just completely. I don't know. You get so scared and nervous when you go to talk to these like big directors and stuff, and
Yeah.
she was just fine with it. And so I didn't wear it in the dance party, which is a big opening scene. But I wore it kind of like in all of the other scenes because it is cool. It's flashy. It's
Mhm.
gold. It matched all the other outfits. I really like to wear it, especially if I have like an outfit that kind of goes past the elbow because it just gives me a more like symmetrical look. Um, and then I kind of like evolved into Bionic Barbie in like the second kind of half of the film. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience, to be honest. And a lot of the times when you get hired for stuff, there's one disabled person on set, and now there's two, which is better than one.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it was just really cool. All the dancers were amazing. Everyone kind of became family. We were on it for about 4 or 5 months
Wow.
because they did all of the dream house scenes, the beach scene, basically everything that is in Barbie world was done at Warner Brothers in Watford or Leavesden, which is North London, and then all of the real world stuff was done in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
So our scenes were all, because we're in Barbie land, all of our scenes were in London. But it was cool because Greta kind of wanted all the dancers to be very diverse and unique. And then she
Mhm.
kind of continued that throughout the movie. She just kind of wanted us to continue as kind of like glorified essays, background actors,
Yeah.
but not just that, but like people who can be recognized throughout the entire movie. She kind of wanted to create this world of Barbie. So you can be like,
Yeah.
oh, I know that one. She was in that scene, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, it was just amazing. It was a cool
That's
experience.
beautiful. And I love I love hearing all of that about Greta too, because I've seen so many interviews with her and heard things
Yeah,
about her, and you never know though. So it's really nice hearing from people that have worked with her and can vouch for like that it's true that she is
yeah,
that that loving and genuinely cares about the people that she's working with, because you hear horror stories in the industry, and I've
mm,
had some negative experiences with some pretty pretty well-known filmmakers or actors and things like that, and it's always disappointing. But then there's times like I did this little scene in Black Panther 2 and was so scared and nervous going into it. And then Ryan Coogler was just the most relaxed, laid back director I've ever worked with. He was
cool.
really open to like improv and was really just for such a big film, it really helps when you have a filmmaker that can make you feel like it's just like a little indie, and like we're just all here having fun and making a movie. Like it's not,
Yeah,
they don't take themselves so seriously, but they really care about what they're making. So um and they care about the people that they're working with. So it's
mm.
really it's nice whenever you get to work with someone like that. But I wanted to ask too how you got involved with Lucky Finn, what that organization is all about.
Yes. Oh, I love Lucky Fan. I'm wearing a shirt today.
I saw that, yes.
Just to represent, you know. Also Lucky Finn, I found them through, I think, Rebecca Marine, just ages ago, probably 2016 as well. I found them online, and they had their Lucky Finn meetup weekend, and I was like terrified. I really wanted to go, but some like I don't know, you just get held back by your own mind. And I was like, oh, I would love to go, but I don't want to go, but I want to go. And so it just took like such a long time for me to kind of make the final decision on whether I want to go to Lucky Fin weekend or not. That by the time I said yes, I bought the plane ticket and everything. I said yes, and there was no more rooms at the weekend. And so I reached out to Molly, who is the founder of Lucky Fin Project, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we'll find you a place to stay. Don't worry." And she actually got me in touch with Angel Jifria, and she's like, "Yeah, you can room with me, whatever." And it's funny, Angel. The first thing I messaged her, I was like, "Hey, how are you?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm 31 or something." She thought I said like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "All right." I was like, "I don't know if we're gonna get along," because I just wasn't sure, like, I don't know what was going on. And then I got there, and she answered the door with like makeup on her little arm, and
Uh-huh.
that's exactly what I do. And that was the first time ever realizing like, wow, I am not by myself, like I'm not doing all these things alone. I am not the only one. And it was like a weekend that kind of changed my entire life. um, I met all these incredible young adults, and just people of all ages, but we kind of created this little group, and we've all kind of been best friends ever since. But there was like a night where we all stayed up until like 2 or 3 a.m. just in the lobby of the hotel talking about all the experiences that we had and all the experiences that we've all shared, that we all thought were just unique to ourselves, but it's not. um,
Yeah.
and from there I was like, I just really wanted to be an ambassador for them, whatever that meant, whatever they needed me to do. I just wanted to be someone who was heavily involved. And Molly luckily said yes. And I've been an ambassador for them ever since. So we kind of just do a lot of like outreach stuff. the meetup weekends. There's like little meetups all throughout the country, and just raising awareness. Just being out there and
Yeah.
kind of making a face for ourselves and giving kids this really awesome relatable character, Nemo, who has a lucky fin.
Yeah.
Just giving them someone to relate to, especially from such a young age. It's just awesome. Yeah, I love it. I have nothing but like amazing things to say about
Yeah.
Lucky Fin.
I love that so much. And I love too, the like social media definitely has some toxic qualities, especially
Mm,
depending on which platforms you're going on. But there's, I think one of the things I love so much about it is how, like, I've been able to find this community of other artists that are in the disabled community. And, like yourself, we've been Instagram friends for a while, and
yeah.
Angel and I, that's how we met. And, Brenna Huckabee and like all of these
Mm,
other people, Nick Novicki, and all these people that are in the film industry or in the entertainment industry that have varying disabilities, and it's like it's such a cool little like online community that there is. Like you feel, you know, sorry, the dogs are barking. You it does make you feel less alone, and
yeah.
even just when it comes to cerebral palsy in general, I've had RJ Mitty on the podcast and Josh Blue and
Cool.
other Chelsea Bear, who's like a travel social media influencer, and she rates different like resorts and hotels on their accessibility. And it's so cool talking to like different people that have my specific disability, but how it affects them differently and the similarities between us. And like, it's so cool just getting to like openly talk about all of it. And I love what you said too about like finding this like you want to fight for them and with them, and
Yeah.
you feel proud of them, and it helps you kind of see, you see the beauty and like the people that you're talking to that have, whether it's the same, disability or struggle as yourself or something totally different, you see beauty in them, and you see you see what they're capable of, and then it helps you kind of see that in yourself a little bit more too. And I think that's beautiful, and good for you for getting involved with that, because it really really is making a difference. um
Yeah, definitely. No, it's
but
just amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
no, it's so cool. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I always, since you're so gracious and so willing to be vulnerable and talk about the things you've struggled
Mm,
with and insecurities, I like to end on a positive note. And I ask all of my guests, what is the thing that you love most about yourself?
ooh. I think I would say I love my positivity. I have this thing, and then I think I just see the good in kind of like everything, every person I meet, every experience that I have. I kind of like to see life through rose-colored glasses and, and kind of
Yeah,
be, as much as I can, obviously. But I would say that's a good quality. I think having a positive attitude and being optimistic is, yeah, one of my
yeah,
favorite qualities.
yeah.
So,
It's a good one.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Is there anything you want to like plug or promote before we go?
Um, you can always follow my Instagram. I'm at Orlando Cyborg Ashley. So I post most of my life and my modeling and acting stuff there. So yeah, if you're interested to follow that, that would be awesome.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so glad that we were able to finally connect and make this happen.
Yes, me too. I'm glad we got together. That's awesome.
Thank you. Enjoy Halloween in the States.
Yes, thank you. And enjoy your haunted house on Friday.
Thank you. I'll post pictures.
Yes, I can't wait.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.